AEW Forbidden Door this past Sunday. I'm going to here to let you know my thoughts. I'm not going to break down the entire card and give you match-by-match results. By now, I'm sure you know the results or you know where to go to get them. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give you just my thoughts, some of the things that stood out, and my opinion on where they might be going forward. But before I get into that, I'm Rob, the Wrestling Old Head, and you have entered the portal of pro wrestling, all the time. The wrestling community for you is right here. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about Forbidden Door. One of the things that stood out, and you're going to be shocked on this because it's not on everybody's list. I haven't been seeing it on the X feeds. I haven't been seeing it on the social medias. Zack Sabre Jr. Orange Cassidy match. It's probably top 2 match of the night if you ask me, and if you like that sort of thing, it definitely hit a certain bag for me. I mean, this is the type of match that I feel like Dean Malenko or William Regal would be really proud for, at least for Zack Sabre Jr. The guy is a throwback, and he wrestles the type of matches that I grew up enjoying as a kid. And like I said, the William Regals and the Dean Malenkos, it's kind of a throwback to that type of wrestling. And it's refreshing in this day and age where most of the time it's all about the oohs and the ahs in the match and less about the style of professional wrestling that, you know, that really is, that harkens back to the days of the golden years, in my opinion. So I thought it was a great match. Konosuke Takeshita, he got new music. Man, he just... God, guys, I rack my brain. He deserves so much better. Like, he really does. Like, Konosuke Takeshita should be in the talk for the upper card or main event tier kind of a guy. He's very young. He's got the height. He's got the world ahead of him. To me, and I've said this on all different types of platforms, if you follow me on X or Twitter or whatever, and if you follow me on Instagram, if you've seen some of the comments I left on other YouTube channels, I've said this ad nauseum. He could be the Chong Li of the AEW. And Chong Li is not Chun-Li from Street Fighter. Chong Li is from Bloodsport. It was the guy that was the main villain in the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie from the 80s that has an Oscar award-winning actor in that movie. Now, that's an Oscar award-winning type of a movie right there, because Forrest Whitaker's in the movie. But if you do get the chance, you young heads out there, go check it out. It's for the old heads here. I grew up for movies for guys who like movies, right? So that was my thing, and Bloodsport was on that channel on TNT all the time. So yes, a throwback. The guy could have been a beast, and you know, if pushed right, he could have been up there with, you know, some of the top contenders for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship, and he had a good mouthpiece next to him in Don Callis. I didn't see him come out in the TNT ladder match, so I'm not sure what the deal is with that. But I digress. Konosuke Takeshita, God, the new music, I mean, he had the good music too. It was a different type of music. It didn't have like the normal instrumentation. It just came out to eerie, ethereal music. It was cool. Anyways, Britt Baker, DMD, showed up to set up for her new program, seemingly new program, with Mercedes Moné. The DMD against the CEO. Does that sound familiar? It's because I talked about it in a video a few months back where Mercedes Moné's trajectory is to meet with Britt Baker, and Britt Baker to be the MJF to Mercedes Moné's CM Punk. And it looks like we're going to go see that. It looks like we're going to get there. But who is going to drop the pipe bomb first? Who is going to be the first one to do the pipe bomb promo? That is the question on everyone's mind. I would like to see it happen on Wednesday. I think that's the way to kick it off. And AEW's all-in pay-per-view is shaping up to be actually pretty good, with some good stories if they are built correctly. You've got Mercedes Moné and Britt Baker. You've got potentially Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness. And then you've got the world title picture. I see some people are talking about it potentially being Swerve Strickland against Hangman Adam Page. Other people are saying it would be MJF against Will Ospreay. And we can still get those two matches. Just one would be for the AEW World title and the other would just be a match. Other people are saying that we could see Swerve Strickland against Will Ospreay in a rematch, and then I'm hearing stories of potentially MJF against Swerve Strickland against Billy Goat 2 Belts in 3 men in the same ring at the same time, a 3-way dance. So depending on who you talk to, we could be getting that. So it's shaping up to be a pretty good pay-per-view. Back to Britt Baker and Mercedes Moné. The idea behind this program, I'm sure, is to get the crowd hard behind both of these women. Yeah, and that's to do one side of the crowd going CEO and the other side of the crowd going DMD. Look, I'm all for that, and if it does happen, especially in Boston, I can see it happening. But outside of that, I personally feel like you're going to see a majority of the fans cheering for DMD. Bully Ray, Mark Henry, and Dave LaGreca were talking about it on the Busted Open Radio, and they were saying exactly what I was thinking as well. Mercedes Moné is a heel, and she has been built as a heel. Her whole persona is a heel, and she is the antithesis of what you would cheer for in the women's division in AEW, because she comes from the WWE, and she essentially has not changed her packaging, for lack of a better term, as she has walked through the AEW. She even brought her writer with her. So she is essentially telling us, this is what you're getting. You're getting Sasha Banks with a different name. And that is not something that the AEW fans take to very well. And you can see it in some of the more successful people that have come into the AEW. You see Christian Cage, you've seen Adam Copeland, you have seen even to a sort of degree CM Punk. They came in, they were different than what they were presented in the WWE. And then you have some that just didn't change one way or another, and they're kind of stuck in limbo. And doesn't take much to look at the roster and narrow it down to who I might be talking about. I don't have to say any names. So in this whole CEO DMD thing, I believe you're going to see Britt Baker lean into being more of a fan favorite. And if they're smart about it, Mercedes Moné will lean into being a heel. I also see this Will Ospreay story. It is very interesting. Brian Alvarez on the Wrestling Observer made a great point about this whole story, is that he turned down doing the screwdriver spot when Don Callis came out during the match with Swerve Strickland and tried to give him the screwdriver, but then he got in his face and said, "Tiger Driver." It's like, it kind of goes against what the story progression was of him doing the right thing, the honorable thing, making the right choices, but then he calls for a move that he, tried so hard not to do because of what that move does to his opponents. So it's very interesting that they went that way. Hopefully they play on that on Wednesday and we get more of an idea of why he was going to go for that move. It ended up biting him in the end, and Swerve got the win. And I will say, before I get any deeper into this, thoughts on this match, I will say I thought they made the overall right decision, and I even thought, even though it was my original video that I posted about it going into a time limit draw, I thought it was the better idea of giving Swerve Strickland the win. I think he needed this win to cement his reign and to stamp the summer of Swerve. We are in Swerve's house, and this is the summer of Swerve, and I thought it was the right thing to do overall, and it cements his legacy as an AEW World Heavyweight Champion, and he doesn't get lost in the shuffle anymore. I've heard people talk about how Swerve, not being in the main event hurt his title reign. I don't know if I necessarily agree, but I do understand that his title reign was going towards the Hangman Adam Page type of a title reign, where you just hoped that they had done it better and you hoped for more. So I understand that, but you can't compare. You can't say like Cody Rhodes. I've heard other people talk about how Cody Rhodes was always given the main event. The man was in the opening match at the last PLE. At the King and Queen of the Ring, he opened the show. So, I don't know necessarily you should go to compare Cody Rhodes and Swerve Strickland's title reigns. But I will say this did a long way of putting taking the asterisk off of Swerve Strickland's title reign and giving him an opportunity to pave the way to be in the pantheon of success with this title reign by beating Billy Goat. So also, I'm not sure what to think of this Will Ospreay story. If this story is, it's going to be a take on Karate Kid 3, where Don Callis is Terry Silver and he's going, whoa, whoa. If that is his trajectory, is Don Callis is Terry Silver and he's trying to get Will Ospreay to the dark side, and Will Ospreay is fighting at all costs to get out of that. Okay, that's cool, but I don't know who's going to be Mr. Miyagi. They need to find him, though. If it's going to be Hiroshi Tanahashi, if it's going to be Minoru Suzuki. But all I know is that my guess would be that they're probably trying to fit him into the wild card somehow to get him into Wembley to wrestle for the World Heavyweight Championship. That's my guess. I have no idea. A lot of people are saying, well, you got Hangman Adam Page. They did a video for him, so it looks like the Elite are going to put Hangman Adam Page in the wild card. I don't know. I think it would be cool if Don Callis made a deal with the Elite, and then soon after they can start to tease more of a distancing between Ospreay and Callis before they turn the fans. They need to do that before they turn the fans against Ospreay, in my opinion. They really do. They need to figure out somehow to get Will Ospreay away from Don Callis, because they're sticking with them too long, and I think it's going to start to hurt this ability for the fans to like Ospreay in the long run, because they don't like Don Callis, and the longer he stays with him, the worse it is. We don't know why he's with Don Callis. He was in United Empire in New Japan. He had seemingly no affiliation with Don Callis. He's not bound by family or by lineage in any way. It's almost like Will Ospreay is playing the part of Kenny Omega in this role, and we're having a hard time understanding why he's sticking around Don Callis. So you've got to. And I love the subtlety of AEW. They do storylines in a different way, and I've been programmed by the WWE. I've watched the WWE since I was a kid. This is the first company that I ever watched, so I understand that I'm looking through it from a different lens. Okay, my lens is geared on long-term storytelling that is thrown right in your face, and it's easy to pick apart and digest and understand. But my palate is refined. I can take different types of storytelling. I can take different types of wrestling. But I think that if you're going to put Will Ospreay in front of us as the top babyface going forward, then you need to give us a reason why we still cheer him. But he's with an asshole in Don Callis. That's all I'm saying. So they can go whatever way they want to go, but we need to understand why he's still with him. And soon, in my opinion. Bryan Danielson, Shingo Takagi, man, they had a match that took me back to the mid-aughts Ring of Honor. Shingo, when he ran in the Ring of Honor in the mid to late aughts, oh man, that had good tension and it was good energy throughout this match. And I assume this is leading to Bryan Danielson and Will Ospreay in the finals for the sake of story here of the Owen Hart Cup. That's my opinion. I think that's what they should do. I think it would be it would be such a great story. You've got Will Ospreay that kind of sneaks in as a wild card, gets all the way to the finals, and guess who he meets? Bryan Danielson in a rematch. He almost killed Bryan Danielson with that Tiger Driver the first time they met, and Bryan Danielson is trying to become a world heavyweight champion in AEW before he retires. I think the story just writes itself. There's so much drama. It's not hard to get to that point either, in my opinion. And with Will Ospreay winning, that puts Bryan Danielson at a disadvantage. He gets fed up, he gets frustrated, and then he starts picking on Nigel McGuinness, who's been giving him shit for like 2 years already. And you got a match for All In. Don Callis eventually does need to separate from Ospreay, though. And I figured they would do Arthur Ashe for that split, but it's I found out that it's going to be a late September them doing that. So I don't know if they're going to do that going into the next All In. I do think that in this Owen Hart tournament for the finals, it should be Bryan Danielson and Will Ospreay, and if not in Arthur Ashe, it's some big Dynamite before you get to All In, and I think it would be huge, and they need the numbers, so I think that they should go with that. The summer of Swerve has begun, and the right man won. And I don't believe this loss hurts Will Ospreay at all, and it only solidifies Swerve as a threat, and it saved his title run. I think that was a good call for Swerve. I think MJF should open up Dynamite going face-to-face with Swerve, my opinion, because they need to reestablish that MJF is the former AEW World Heavyweight Champion before Samoa Joe beat him at the end of last year, and that he's looking to get back in that title picture because he opened the Forbidden Door against Hechicero. I'm so sorry for calling him Hechicero and my Forbidden Door predictions. That was my bad. But they do need to reestablish MJF in the top of the card, because opening match against Hechicero in a match that wasn't well put together with not a lot of build is not a good look for the face of your company. So get him back in the title picture by having him go against Billy Goat in a dual microphone thing, and throwing some jabs at one another would be a great start. And maybe even having Swerve come out and talk some shit about maybe MJF's girlfriend being backstage with a microphone. That would be interesting. Toni Storm, Mariah May, and Mina Shirakawa's triple kiss. It hopefully avoids it's Mariah, it's gonna be May, and Toni Storm breakup for now. But glancing at the bracket for the Women's Owen Hart Cup tournament, it's obvious that Mariah, it's gonna be May, will challenge Toni Storm for the women's gold. Or whatever. Is it gold? I mean, it kind of looked bronze, like a little patina, like a little bronze. I don't know. But for the women's gold, and when Toni senses that May's lust for the gold is going to overtake her, then Toni will get paranoid and hopefully cut a promo similar to the one that she cut on Thunder Rosa on the Collision before AEW Dynasty a couple of months back, because that story is indeed there to do that. And personally, I feel that it is a bit too soon to pull the trigger, but if they're going to go that way, they need to go all in with that. They need to turn this Toni Storm love story into a dark, suspenseful drama and go single white female, where maybe Mariah, it's gonna be May, is trying to turn into Toni Storm or something. But it is the way my wrestling mind has been programmed to believe that they should hold off on that. But if they're gonna go at it right now, then they need to go at it right now. Toni Storm needs to be looking at Mariah, it's gonna be May, like, oh, you're trying to be May, like, gotta be. I mean, you're like trying to look like me, maybe doing the dance, maybe coming out like her. I think that would be an awesome way to set up for this match, is that Mariah, it's gonna be May, is losing her mind and trying to be Toni Storm, gets in her head, and then ultimately cost Toni Storm the AEW Women's World Championship. Overall, I think it was an okay show. It was very long, 15 matches. I mean, my God, man. I remember, I'm a wrestling fan from a long way back. In the 80s and the 90s, WWF did that all the time. They had 15-minute matches on their pay-per-views. I think it was WrestleMania 4, the one that was in Trump Palace. Well, WrestleMania 4 and 5 were in Trump Palace. But I think it was WrestleMania 4. They had like 15 matches, man. They went long, but they didn't have 20-minute 15-minute matches. They had some that were 7, some that were 9, some that were 12. I mean, it was a long-winded event. I understand that is an independent wrestling type of a throwback, and I know that Pro Wrestling Guerrilla did that a lot. I know that Ring of Honor, I don't know if Ring of Honor ever did that, but I understand why they did it. It's a lot to give to fans, but you want to get their money's worth. But I couldn't imagine sitting in a folding chair for 6.5 hours watching that event. I would be drained, man. And some of those guys, man, God, they got to be professional drinkers. I saw a lot of beer, and I don't know how they were able to just keep that pace. But I don't know. I mean, if they went to Italy, if they went to France, if they went to Germany, I don't know how the crowd would be able to keep their soccer chant pace for that whole show. I mean, God bless them if they were able to, but man, that would have been a lot. So that's my thoughts on Forbidden Door. I thought it was, like I said, a serviceable event. AEW, always make sure you get your money's worth, for better or for worse. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. What did you think about what I was saying about the Mariah May, Tony Storm build? Do you think Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness is going down? Who do you think is going to be in the AEW World Heavyweight Championship match at All In at Wembley? You guys let me know in the comments. Thanks again for everybody that hits the like and comments. You are growing this community better than I could have ever imagined. The portal of pro wrestling is always open, and I'm bringing out all kinds of stuff for you guys. So always stay tuned for that. Wrestling fans, try and stay united, and I'll see you real soon.